Dr. Thomas Chen was a physicist at MIT who had spent 20 years studying quantum mechanics. He could solve Schrödinger's equation in his sleep. He understood superposition, entanglement, and wave function collapse mathematically. But he didn't really understand what it meant. Like most physicists, he took the shut up and calculate approach. The math works. The predictions are accurate. Don't ask too many questions about what's really happening. Then he encountered Tibetan Buddhist teachings on emptiness, shunyata, the doctrine that nothing has independent inherent existence. At first, he dismissed it as mystical nonsense. But the more he studied both quantum mechanics and Buddhist philosophy, the more he realized they were pointing to something remarkably similar. Both were saying that reality is not what our everyday perception tells us. Objects are not solid, independent things. Observation and relationship matter fundamentally. Nothing exists in isolation. The universe is a web of interdependence, not a collection of separate objects. This wasn't vague spiritual poetry. This was what the mathematics of quantum mechanics was actually describing, and it was what Buddhist contemplatives had discovered through direct investigation of mind and reality over 2,000 years ago. If you want to understand the striking parallels between quantum physics and Tibetan emptiness teachings, how both challenge our common sense view of reality, and what this means for how we understand existence, subscribe right now and hit the bell. You're about to discover that the most rigorous science and the most profound contemplative philosophy converge on truths that transform everything about how we see the world. Before we explore these profound connections, I want to be completely transparent with you. This video was created with the help of artificial intelligence for narration and visual elements, but it contains 100% rigorous research integrating authentic Tibetan Buddhist philosophy with accurate quantum physics. I'm not making pseudo-scientific claims that quantum mechanics proves Buddhism. I'm exploring genuine parallels between how these two different modes of investigation describe reality. Every physics claim is verified against mainstream scientific understanding. Every Buddhist claim is verified against traditional sources. Let's start with the common sense view of reality that both quantum physics and Buddhist emptiness challenge. This is sometimes called naive realism, or the classical worldview. It's how most people naturally think about the world. Objects are solid, material things that exist independently out there whether anyone is looking at them or not. A table is a table. It has definite properties, mass, shape, color, location, that belong to the table itself, regardless of observation. Objects are separate from each other. The table is separate from the chair, from you, from everything else. It has clear boundaries. Observation is passive. When you look at the table, you're not changing it. You're just seeing what's already there. Causation is local and mechanical. Things affect each other through direct physical contact or forces that travel through space. Reality is objective and observer independent. What exists and what properties things have are facts independent of any mind or consciousness. This view comes from everyday experience and was codified in classical Newtonian physics. For describing ordinary-sized objects moving at ordinary speeds, it works perfectly. Engineers use it to build bridges and airplanes. It matches our intuitions. But both quantum mechanics and Buddhist philosophy say this view, while useful for practical purposes, is fundamentally incorrect as a description of ultimate reality. Reality is far stranger, far more interconnected, and far less solid than it appears. Have you ever had a moment where reality seemed less solid than you normally perceive it? Where the boundaries between things felt less clear? Comment below. Both physics and contemplative practice can induce such insights. Let's start with what Tibetan Buddhism actually teaches about emptiness because it's widely misunderstood. Emptiness, shunyata in Sanskrit, does not mean nothingness or that nothing exists. This is a common and dangerous misinterpretation. What emptiness means is that phenomena are empty of svabhava, which translates as inherent existence, independent existence, or intrinsic essence. Something that exists inherently would exist by its own power, from its own side, independent of anything else. It would have a fixed, unchanging essence that makes it what it is. Buddhist analysis says nothing exists this way. Everything exists dependently. There are 3 levels of dependent existence taught in Madhyamaka philosophy, the school that most fully developed emptiness teachings. First, dependent arising or causation. Everything arises from causes and conditions. Nothing is self-created or uncaused. A flower exists dependently on seed, soil, water, sunlight, the gardener, countless conditions. Remove any of these, and the flower doesn't exist. So the flower has no independent existence. Second, dependence on parts. Anything composite exists in dependence on its parts. A table depends on legs, top, wood molecules, atoms. Is the table the legs? No. Is it the top? No. Is it something separate from all the parts? No. The table is a conceptual designation on an arrangement of parts. It has no independent existence apart from parts. Third, dependence on conceptual designation. Even the most fundamental particles exist in dependence on being designated by mind. They exist as the referent of a concept, a name, a category. This doesn't mean mind creates reality from nothing. It means that what we call a thing is always a relationship between a phenomenon and a mind designating it. The conclusion is radical. Nothing exists from its own side with intrinsic properties independent of relationships, causes, parts, and designation. Everything is empty of independent existence. But this doesn't mean nothing exists at all. Phenomena exist conventionally, relatively, dependently. The table exists. You can put things on it. But it exists as a web of relationships, not as an independent object with an essence called tableness. Nagarjuna, the founder of Madhyamaka, taught that emptiness and dependent arising are 2 ways of describing the same thing. To be empty of inherent existence is to exist dependently. They're synonymous. Why does this matter? Because grasping at inherent existence, believing things are solid, permanent, and independent, is the root of suffering. You cling to your body as an unchanging self, but it's constantly changing. You grasp at relationships as permanent, but they're dependently arisen and will change. The mismatch between your belief in solidity and the reality of flux causes suffering. Understanding emptiness liberates you from this grasping. You can engage with the conventional world while understanding its ultimate nature. If this philosophical analysis is intriguing, hit the like button. Now let's see what quantum physics discovered about reality. Quantum mechanics emerged in the early 20th century, when physicists studying atoms and subatomic particles found that classical physics completely failed at that scale. What they discovered was so strange that even the founders struggled to accept it. Albert Einstein spent the last decades of his life trying to prove quantum mechanics was incomplete because he couldn't accept its implications. Niels Bohr, Werner Heisenberg, Erwin Schrödinger, and others developed the mathematical framework that has been spectacularly successful. Every prediction quantum mechanics makes has been confirmed experimentally. The technology you're using to watch this video depends on quantum mechanics. But what it says about reality is profoundly unsettling. Wave-particle duality was one of the first shocks. Light and matter behave as waves in some experiments and particles in others. An electron isn't a little ball orbiting a nucleus, it's not a wave spread out in space. It's somehow both and neither depending on how you observe it. The famous double-slit experiment demonstrates this starkly. When you shoot electrons through 2 slits without observing which slit they go through, they create an interference pattern on the detector screen characteristic of waves. Each electron somehow goes through both slits simultaneously and interferes with itself. But if you put a detector at the slits to see which one the electron goes through, the interference pattern disappears. The electron behaves like a particle going through one slit or the other. The act of observation changes the outcome. This has been replicated thousands of times. It's not a measurement error, it's fundamental to reality at the quantum level. The observer effect is central to quantum mechanics. Before measurement, a quantum system exists in superposition, a state where it simultaneously has multiple incompatible properties. An electron is simultaneously in multiple locations, spinning in multiple directions. Only when you measure does it collapse into one definite state. But here's the key point. It's not that the electron had a definite position all along and we just didn't know it. Bell's theorem and experiments testing it have ruled out hidden variable theories that try to preserve that interpretation. The electron genuinely doesn't have a definite position until measurement. Observation doesn't just reveal reality, it participates in creating definite reality from quantum potentiality. Physicist John Wheeler proposed the delayed choice experiment, which shows that even the past can depend on present observation. You can make a measurement now that retroactively determines what happened earlier. This has been experimentally confirmed. The implications are staggering. The universe doesn't have a definite history independent of observation. Reality is not observer-independent. Quantum entanglement is another mind-bending phenomenon. When two particles interact, they can become entangled. Their properties become correlated in a way that persists regardless of distance. If you measure the spin of one entangled particle and find it spinning up, you instantly know its partner is spinning down, even if it's on the other side of the galaxy. Einstein called this spooky action at a distance and thought it proved quantum mechanics was wrong. But experiments, particularly those by Alain Aspect and others, have confirmed entanglement is real. Particles that have interacted remain connected in a fundamental way. They're not separate independent objects, they're part of a unified system. The uncertainty principle, discovered by Heisenberg, states that certain pairs of properties cannot both have definite values simultaneously. You cannot know both the exact position and exact momentum of a particle. This isn't about measurement limitations. It's about reality itself. The particle doesn't have both definite position and definite momentum. At the quantum level, reality is inherently indeterminate in certain respects. Definite properties only emerge through measurement and context. What does all this mean philosophically? Quantum mechanics challenges every aspect of the classical worldview. Objects are not solid things with definite properties existing independently. They're probability waves, potentialities that only become actual in the context of measurement. Observation is not passive. The observer is entangled with the observed. Measurement is an interaction that helps create the measured properties. Separation between objects is not absolute. Entangled particles are fundamentally connected regardless of spatial distance. Reality is not observer-independent. What exists and what properties things have depends on observation and context. Causation is non-local. Entangled particles affect each other instantaneously across any distance. Physicist Niels Bohr said, "Anyone who is not shocked by quantum theory has not understood it. If you think you understand quantum mechanics, you don't." These aren't just weird facts about particles. They're telling us something profound about the nature of reality itself. Keep watching because now we'll explore the specific parallels between quantum mechanics and emptiness teaching. The parallels are striking and have been noted by numerous physicists and Buddhist scholars. The Dalai Lama has spent decades in dialogue with quantum physicists. Matthieu Ricard, who has a PhD in molecular biology, has written about these connections. Physicist Henry Stapp has explored how quantum mechanics might relate to Buddhist philosophy. But we must be careful. These are parallels and resonances, not proof that one validates the other. They're different methods investigating different aspects of reality. That said, the convergences are remarkable. First parallel, no inherent existence. Quantum mechanics shows that particles don't have definite properties independent of measurement context. An electron doesn't have a definite position until you measure position. It doesn't have a definite momentum until you measure momentum. What properties a particle manifests depends on how you observe it, what apparatus you use, what question you ask. The particle doesn't exist from its own side with intrinsic properties. Its properties arise dependently in relationship to observation. This is strikingly similar to the Buddhist teaching that phenomena are empty of inherent existence and exist only dependently. Physicist Werner Heisenberg wrote, "What we observe is not nature itself, but nature exposed to our method of questioning. The properties we measure depend on the questions we ask. Reality doesn't have a fixed nature independent of investigation." This resonates deeply with Madhyamaka philosophy that phenomena exist in dependence on designation and conceptualization. Second parallel, the role of observation and relationship. Both quantum mechanics and emptiness teaching emphasize that observation and relationship are not secondary to reality. They're constitutive of it. In quantum mechanics, the act of measurement collapses superposition into definite states. The observer is not separate from the observed. They're entangled. What you observe depends on how you observe. In emptiness teaching, phenomena exist in dependence on being designated and known by mind. The relationship between knower and known is fundamental. You can't separate the object from the subject that cognizes it. This doesn't mean mind creates reality arbitrarily. In quantum mechanics, you can't make the electron do anything you want. The possibilities are constrained by physical laws. In Buddhism, phenomena arise from causes and conditions, not from arbitrary mental projection. But in both cases, the sharp separation between objective reality out there and subjective observer in here breaks down. Reality is relational, not absolute. Third parallel, interdependence and non-locality. Quantum entanglement shows that particles that have interacted remain fundamentally connected. You cannot treat them as separate, independent entities. Their properties are correlated in ways that transcend space. This suggests that at a deep level, the universe is an interconnected whole, not a collection of separate parts. Buddhism's teaching of dependent arising says exactly this. Nothing exists independently. Everything arises in dependence on everything else. The entire universe is a web of interdependence. Thich Nhat Hanh coined the term interbeing to describe this. When you look deeply into anything, you see everything else. A flower contains the sun, rain, soil, the gardener, the entire universe. Nothing exists in isolation. The physicist David Bohm developed a theory of implicate order suggesting that the universe is a holistic, interconnected whole and that separate objects are just different manifestations of underlying unity. This is remarkably similar to Buddhist teachings on emptiness and interdependence. Fourth parallel, the breakdown of substance. Classical physics assumed matter is made of solid, indivisible particles, the ultimate building blocks of reality. But quantum mechanics reveals that even the most fundamental particles are not solid things. They're probability waves, excitations in quantum fields, patterns of relationship. At the deepest level, there's no solid substance. There are processes, interactions, relationships, but no ultimate building block that you can point to and say this is what reality is made of. Buddhist emptiness teaching makes the same point through logical analysis. When you analyze anything to find its essence, you never find a substantial core. You find only parts, causes, and designations. There's no ultimate substance. Nagarjuna showed that even the most fundamental categories like existence and non-existence, same and different, coming and going, all break down under analysis. Reality is empty of substance. The physicist and Buddhist scholar Alan Wallace has written extensively about these parallels. He argues that both quantum physics and Buddhist philosophy are undermining substantialist views of reality and revealing a universe of dynamic interdependence. If these parallels are blowing your mind, share this video with someone interested in science and philosophy. These insights deserve wider understanding. But we must also be clear about where the parallels end and the differences between quantum mechanics and Buddhist emptiness are significant. Quantum mechanics is a mathematical theory about physical phenomena, particularly at microscopic scales. It makes precise quantitative predictions that can be tested experimentally. It's concerned with measurable physical properties, energy, momentum, position, spin. It's silent on questions of consciousness, meaning, ethics, and liberation. Buddhist emptiness is a philosophical and soteriological teaching. It's concerned with liberating beings from suffering through wisdom. It addresses the nature of all phenomena, not just physical particles, but also mental states, concepts, relationships, and the self. It's interested in how understanding reality correctly leads to ethical transformation and compassion. The methods are different. Physics uses mathematics, experiments, instruments, and third-person observation. Buddhism uses logic, debate, meditation, and first-person contemplative investigation. The goals are different. Physics aims to predict and control physical phenomena. Buddhism aims to end suffering and achieve enlightenment. Neither can replace the other. They're complementary investigations of reality from different perspectives. Some physicists caution against over-interpreting quantum mechanics philosophically. The Copenhagen interpretation, the most common view, simply says quantum mechanics is a tool for predicting measurement outcomes, and we shouldn't speculate too much about what's really happening when we're not measuring. Other interpretations like many worlds or pilot wave theory give very different philosophical pictures. There's no consensus on what quantum mechanics means metaphysically. We should be humble about drawing too many philosophical conclusions. Similarly, some Buddhist scholars caution against conflating emptiness with quantum indeterminacy or wave functions. Emptiness is a statement about all phenomena at all levels, not just subatomic particles. It's about logical analysis of concepts like inherent existence, not about physical measurements. The parallels are interesting, but we shouldn't claim that quantum physics proves Buddhist philosophy or vice versa. That said, the fact that the most rigorous modern science and a 2,000-year-old contemplative tradition both conclude that reality is not solid, independent, and observer-independent is significant. Both challenge naive realism. Both point to a reality that's far more relational, interdependent, and strange than common sense suggests. This convergence from completely different starting points and methods is worth taking seriously. Let's look at the dialogues between physicists and Buddhist contemplatives. The Mind and Life Institute, founded in 1987, has facilitated ongoing conversations between the Dalai Lama and leading scientists, including quantum physicists. These dialogues have been remarkably productive. Scientists have found that Buddhist contemplative methods offer insights into consciousness and first-person experience that complement third-person scientific methods. Buddhists have found that modern science provides new ways of understanding aspects of reality and testing certain Buddhist claims empirically. In one dialogue, physicist Anton Zeilinger, a pioneer in quantum entanglement research, discussed his experiments with the Dalai Lama. Zeilinger described how entangled particles remain connected regardless of distance. The Dalai Lama noted the similarity to Buddhist teachings on interdependence and suggested that this might support the idea that separation is conventional rather than ultimate. Zeilinger agreed that quantum mechanics challenges our intuitive notions of separate, independent objects. Matthieu Ricard, who gave up a promising career in molecular biology to become a Tibetan Buddhist monk, has written about how quantum physics and Buddhist emptiness both point to a universe where observer and observed, knower and known, are inseparably intertwined. He argues that both undermining the myth of objectivity, the idea that reality exists completely independently of consciousness and observation, physicist Henry Stapp has argued that quantum mechanics requires consciousness to play a role in collapsing wave functions from superposition to definite states. This is controversial among physicists, but it resonates with Buddhist ideas about the role of mind and how reality manifests. Again, this isn't proof, but it's an intriguing convergence worth exploring. The physicist Wolfgang Pauli and the psychologist Carl Jung explored what they called synchronicity, meaningful coincidences that suggest a deeper interconnection between mind and matter. While speculative, their work points to the same breakdown of the strict subject-object dichotomy that both quantum mechanics and Buddhist philosophy suggest. What are the practical implications of understanding reality as empty and interdependent? For scientists, taking quantum mechanics seriously philosophically might inspire new research directions. If reality is fundamentally relational and observer-dependent, maybe we need to rethink how we do science. Maybe consciousness can't be left out of the final picture. Maybe the search for a theory of everything needs to account for the role of observation and relationship. For everyone, understanding emptiness and interdependence can transform how you live. If nothing exists independently, then harming others is harming yourself. There's no ultimate separation. Compassion isn't just a nice ethical principle, it's recognizing reality as it is. If everything is impermanent and dependently arisen, then grasping at permanence and independence causes suffering. Letting go and flowing with change aligns you with reality. If your self has no fixed essence, then you're not trapped in a limited identity. You have the freedom to change, grow, and transform. When you see a table or a person or yourself, you can see them in two ways. Conventionally, they exist, they function, you interact with them. But ultimately, they're empty of independent existence. They're shimmering webs of interdependence, no solid core, just relationship and process. This double vision, conventional and ultimate, is wisdom in Buddhism. You can function effectively in the world while seeing through its apparent solidity. You're not fooled by appearances, but you don't deny them either. Both quantum physics and Buddhist emptiness invite you to look more deeply at reality. Things are not what they seem. The solid, separate, permanent world of common sense is a useful fiction for everyday life. But it's not the deepest truth. When you investigate carefully through science or contemplation, you find something far more mysterious, more interconnected, and more wondrous. A universe that's alive with relationships, where observer and observed dance together, where nothing exists in isolation, where the boundaries you thought were real are actually permeable and fluid. Where does this understanding change how you see reality? Does it make you more curious about the nature of existence? Share your reflections below. Let me bring this together. The common sense view inherited from classical physics sees reality as solid, independent, objective, made of separate things with intrinsic properties. Both quantum mechanics and Tibetan Buddhist emptiness teaching challenge this view fundamentally. Quantum mechanics discovered that at the subatomic level, particles don't have definite properties independent of measurement. Observation participates in creating definite states from quantum potentiality. Entangled particles remain fundamentally connected regardless of distance. Reality is not observer-independent. There's no solid substance at the bottom, just processes and relationships. Tibetan emptiness teaching, developed through logical analysis and contemplative investigation, concludes that nothing has inherent independent existence. Everything exists dependently, arising from causes and conditions, composed of parts, and designated by mind. Reality is a web of interdependence. There's no unchanging essence or substance. Understanding this liberates you from grasping and suffering. The parallels are remarkable. Both say phenomena don't exist from their own side with intrinsic properties. Both emphasize relationship and interdependence. Both show observation and designation matter fundamentally. Both find no ultimate substance when you look deeply. Both challenge the subject-object dichotomy. These convergences from completely different methods, mathematical physics and contemplative philosophy, are striking, but the differences are also important. Quantum mechanics is physical science with limited scope and predictive goals. Buddhist emptiness is philosophical and soteriological, concerned with all phenomena and aimed at liberation. Different methods, different questions, different purposes. Neither proves the other, but they complement each other. Dialogues between physicists and Buddhist scholars have been fruitful, revealing that ancient contemplative wisdom and cutting-edge science can inform each other. The practical implication is a transformed view of reality, not solid and separate, but fluid and interconnected, not observer-independent, but relational. This understanding supports compassion, reduces grasping, and opens you to wonder. The invitation from both physics and Buddhism is to look more deeply. Question your assumptions about solidity, separation, and objectivity. Investigate reality carefully. You'll find it's far stranger and more beautiful than you imagined. A universe not of things but of relationships, not of substance but of emptiness dancing as form, not of isolation but of profound interconnection. This is what quantum physics reveals mathematically, and what Tibetan contemplatives discovered experientially. Two paths to the same breathtaking truth. Has this exploration changed how you understand reality? Will you look more deeply at the apparent solidity of things? Share your insights and questions below. These conversations deepen understanding for all of us. If you want to continue exploring where ancient wisdom and modern science converge, subscribe to this channel. Every week we bring you teachings that integrate contemplative philosophy with rigorous research. Click subscribe and turn on notifications. Share this video with anyone interested in physics, philosophy, Buddhism, or the nature of reality. This conversation between science and spirituality is one of the most important and fascinating of our time. The boundaries between disciplines are dissolving, and we're discovering that the universe is far more mysterious and interconnected than we ever imagined. I'll close with a quote from physicist Niels Bohr. When it comes to atoms, language can be used only as in poetry. The poet is not nearly so concerned with describing facts as with creating images and establishing mental connections. And a quote from the Buddhist master Nagarjuna. Things derive their being and nature by mutual dependence and are nothing in themselves. Two voices separated by 2,000 years and vastly different methods, pointing to the same profound truth. Reality is not what it appears to be. It's empty of independent existence and full of interdependent relationship. It's quantum and it's shunyata, and understanding this transforms everything about how you see yourself and the universe you inhabit. The invitation is open. Look deeply, question reality, and discover the wonder that waits when solidity dissolves into the dance of emptiness and form.